Welcome to today's episode, and today's conversation we are going to learn about some of the most common and difficult interview questions. They are common because you may never miss to find them in any interview, and they are most difficult to answer because of how they make candidates feel or because of how candidates should actually structure them. So if you're here for the first time, my name is Nelly, and this channel is here to help you build a rewarding and fulfilling careers. And how do I achieve that? I achieve that by sharing content around workplace conversations, job site strategies, career and personal growth topics to help you become a better professional. If you're a returning viewer, I hope that this channel has added value to you. And if you've not subscribed, this is a good time just to hit the subscribe button and join this community where we're all about learning. So back to my topic of this conversation, I want to share with you some of the 11 questions that I really believe are most candidates find difficult to answer, yet they are very common interview questions. So if this is something that you want to learn about, if you've been struggling to answer interview questions, then this definitely is a content that you don't want to pass. So the first question that is quite common, yet many people struggle to answer, is tell me a point or tell me a time when you made a mistake. I know why this question is difficult to answer, because really, mistakes actually expose our nakedness, kind of, and who would want to expose themselves? And like when we go to interviews, we are selling ourselves. Who would want to missell themselves? Like if you're a salesperson, if you're selling a product, you wouldn't really even want to talk about the disadvantages of that product. Or even if you have to talk about it, then you'll talk about them after you've sold the selling points or the advantages of that product. So when you're asked about a time when you made a mistake and how did you go about it, you begin to wonder, oh my goodness, I've already lost it. Yes, I've done so many mistakes, but calm down, relax. This question is a real question, and I like it because what this question does is that it is putting you in a point to accept that you are human and you make mistakes, and you become in a bad place if you say, I can't really think of a point when I made a mistake. You're not a superhuman. If you don't want to think of a situation where you made a mistake, or if you don't want to share that you actually made a mistake, then you're being dishonest. You're being dishonest, and you're trying to please. And I've just done a video on how to be authentic in an interview. I think I would love to link it here. So this question is testing your ability to acknowledge, to be humble enough to acknowledge that you are a human being, you do mistakes. And the best thing it's testing is to see then how do you act when you do mistakes. So it wants to know the mistake that you did, and it wants to know how you navigated and came out of it. It wants to know what you learned, what it taught you. So that is how you need to frame your answer. So the way that you need to frame your answer when answering that question is to first acknowledge that there was a mistake that happened. This is the mistake that you did. For instance, if you're done, there's so many mistakes we do at work. Sometimes we send emails to the wrong people. We copy the wrong people in emails. Sometimes we fail to finish our work. Sometimes you do something wrongly. You mess a whole process. You fail to follow a process. We do so many mistakes in our daily work. So identify the mistake that you did, the exact mistake that you did. How did you handle? So if you've done a mistake, you don't need to hide it. You need to be very truthful about it, because as I said, what they're looking to know is what you learned from that mistake, and of course how it has made you better. So that brings me to my next question, and this is tell me about yourself. This is a question that so many job candidates fear, like like really fear. And some of the reasons why this question is highly feared for a number of reasons, because you know, when somebody asks you to tell them about yourself, you really don't know to what extent they want to know you. Do they want you to start from when you started out your career? Do they want you to speak about your current job? Do they want you to go into your personal life? You know, so candidates are left wondering what type of information is required. So that's why this question becomes difficult to answer, and that's why most candidates find themselves struggling to answer this question. So one of the ways that you need to answer this question, and I have done this question, a video on this question severally. Of course, I'll still just link that video if you've not watched it, and I give my way, or rather a structure that I really prefer that you need to use when answering this question, is to talk about the past, the present, and the future. So when talking about the past, you need to talk about your previous experience. That is, if you already have experience. And even if you just a recent graduate, or if you're just in entry level, you need to talk about your experience in school, or your experience during your education life that really resonates with the job. So you need to give an account of your present. So an account of your present typically goes into your current work experience, that looks into, or that will see you mention, what does your current job entails, and what is it that you do in the current job, and how has that current job prepared you to be a good fit for this job that you're being interviewed for. Your future here comes in when you need to talk about your career aspirations and how the job aligns with it. So you just need to talk about what you're looking for a place or an organization where I can utilize my skills as I endeavor to grow, to become a senior, or rather to get into senior positions within this industry or within this organization. And also talk about your achievements. That means the accomplishment, the achievements that you've had, or that you have recorded rather, in your past and in your current jobs, and also just how these achievements and accomplishments then put you in a better place to be the best person for this job. And also don't forget to talk about your skills, your unique skills that you've gained over time, your academic qualifications, and any other certifications that you have that are relevant to this job. The next question is, why do you think that you're the best fit for this job? And you know, you can be wondering why, or how can I even answer this question, because how can I compare myself to other candidates who I don't even know? You know, I'm not the one interviewing. I know that feeling. So it puts you in a position where you ask yourself, so how do I know whether I'm the best? I'm not the person who is interviewing. So basically, in my experience, what this question is looking for is just, what is it that sets you apart? What is it that makes you stand out? You know, we're interviewing so many people, so what is it that makes you stand out? Why would I leave all the people that I've interviewed and say that it is you? So as a candidate, how you need to approach this question, guys, is to highlight, or rather answer it from a solution provider perspective. And this is what I mean by a solution provider perspective. You need to understand the job description and what are the priorities for that job. So by understanding the job description, then when answering this question, you'll go like, for instance, let me give an example of a real estate sales executive. So if, for example, the job description was, one of the key things in the job description was that they were looking for someone who can be able to move in terms of sales a lot, or a huge number of units. And they're also looking for a great negotiator who will be able to close deals. They're looking for someone who will be able to train their sales agents. I'm just picking those three so that I can show you how you can answer this question by linking your experience to what the job description is looking for directly. And then this, you're not being insincere, you're actually being honest. So if you already have experience, or if you're even a fresh or a recent graduate, then you can be able to pick on the key. If you're a fresh graduate, pick on the key skills that the job is looking for. And if, for instance, the job is looking for communication, you can be able to say something like, I am a recent graduate with strong communication skills, and as I had noted in your job description, one of the key skills or one of the key strengths that the job is looking for is a great communicator. This is evident by my great communication skills that enabled me, for instance, so just say what that great communication, maybe the doors that it opened for you, maybe it enabled you to get into a leadership position while you're still in campus or while you're still in college. If you already experienced, so like I was saying that I was giving an example with an example of a real estate salesperson. From your job description, I noted that you're looking for somebody with great negotiation skills to be able to close as many deals as possible in this job. This is what I have been able to achieve in my current job, because my great negotiation skills has enabled me to not only generate but close so many deals, and this is evident by my ability to consecutively achieve and exceed my target in the last 1 year. So I have been able to, this shows that I have been able to successfully negotiate and close deals because I am able to not only persuade but also convince my clients. So in summary of this point is just to be in a position where you can come up with, pick at least maybe 3 or 4 key responsibilities of the role, maybe 2 responsibilities of the role. So if the job, like the examples that I've said, and 2 key skills that are in the job description, then match them with what you have. Because if you know if you're experienced, of course you have, if you're applying for the right job and you're shortlisted for the right job, I believe that you have had part or if not all of the experience that's been looking for. So look at that and show them that directly, that you will be able to add value, you will be able to solve that problem that they're having or that they're looking for. The next question is, why do you want to leave your current job? I know this question dread job seekers like something else. Guys, it's not bad to want to leave a job. And we all know we're not in those jobs forever. There comes a time that you want to move. There comes a time that change is inevitable. So why do you want to leave your current job? And I've also answered this question severally. And I always emphasize and say that do not be untruthful about it. And let it not be the chance now why you want to badmouth. So what the panel, just tips on what the panel is looking for is, they're looking for your motivation. You know, they're looking for the motivation. What's the motivation behind you wanting to move? Of course, they don't just want to hire you because you're looking to increase your paycheck, which is a good thing. It's good to look for more money. They don't just want to hire you because you're running from a toxic environment. That really is not their problem, I promise you. It's not their problem that you're in a toxic environment. But they want to understand what is your motivation. So if your motivation is wanting to run from a toxic environment, and they also want to test then how do you present or how do you represent your current employer. So that's why I always insist and say that it is not your time to talk bad about your current employer. It's not your time to talk bad about your current boss at work. But I'm not saying that you hide maybe the bad things that are happening in your workplace. But of course, it's also not your responsibility to talk about the bad things that are happening in your workplace. But you can still talk about a bad boss, but talk about them respectfully. You can still talk about a bad environment, but talk about it respectfully. So say the reason that you're looking for. So for example, let me give you an example how to answer this question if you're looking for growth. So one of the reasons that I'm looking to leave my current job, or why I'm looking for this opportunity, is that I have reached a point where I have exhausted, or rather where I have felt that I do not have more room to innovate, to be creative in my current job, as I have fully utilized the skills that are required in that current job. So I am looking for these new opportunities, as I read through the job description and I realized, or rather I feel that this opportunity will give me will put me in a challenging space to challenge myself, develop new skills, and of course get exposed in other areas of my current, or other areas that I've not been able to get exposed in my current job. And of course, this is in my line with my career aspirations, that I want to grow into a senior level within this career. You know, you're showing someone that you want a place that you want to be creative, you want a place that you want to challenge yourself. So that is how you can answer this question. And if you're still with me, don't quit, because at the end of this video, I'm also just going to, towards the tail end, I'm also just going to give you a comprehensive example on how you can answer the tell me about yourself as a real estate. That's the example that I was using, but of course, guys, you can pick something in terms of the structure, how to answer the tell me about yourself. So I'll give you an example of how to answer the tell me about yourself. So next point, guys, is to the question that is mostly commonly asked and difficult to answer is, how do you prioritize your work? So this is a very good question, because it tests on your organization, and it tests on how you, at your personal level, you can be able to organize your work without waiting for your manager or without waiting for your supervisor to come and organize and plan work for you. And this is an important aspect, because it also shows your maturity. You know, you're a person who will come up with your own work plans. You know, you have work for a whole month. You'll come up with your own work plans, your work schedules. You'll organize your own work schedules, of course, without being followed, and be able to deliver. So how do you prioritize your work? And it also tests your level of ability to handle competing priorities, because that's really how the workplace is. Fast paced, will always, from time to time, will always be required to handle competing priorities. So how do you handle competing priorities? So here is how you can answer this question. So I would say something like, how I've successfully managed, or how I've successfully prioritized my work, is first by beginning to rate my work in terms of the nature of the importance. So I look at what is most important. And also, after looking at what is most important, then I go and look at what is most urgent. And I also look at what implication does each and everything that I do have. You know, because there are some that has a more heavy implication, some are not as heavy. So I'll prioritize in terms of the importance of the work. I prioritize in terms of the urgency. I prioritize in terms of what implications do they have for the business. So after that, then I'll also look at tasks that take less, in terms of what amount of time does it take to complete a task. So in that way, it helps me to know which one is most urgent, which one is most important to the business in terms of the implications, which one takes me lesser time. So I deal with the ones that takes me lesser time first and close faster. And of course, which ones are urgently needed, of course, in terms of urgency. So what I do also is to come up with a work schedule. I come up with a work schedule every beginning of the week, just to have what I will be doing and at what time. I also ensure that I organize my work by always ensuring that I have a clean workspace. So that means I'm always well organized in my mind, and this helps me to deliver and complete my work in a timely manner. That's really how I would answer it. Just look at in terms of importance of the importance of the work, the urgency, the implications that it have to the business, and the time that it takes to complete each task. Next question is, how do you deal with work pressure and stress? A very good question, because really I don't think if you'll go to a workplace that once in a while you'll not have pressure. You'll not live in a perfect environment where in your entire lifetime in that company you'll not be having stress. It will come. So they are testing the reality. How do you deal with these things? So you may want to give examples of how you have dealt with this in the past. Just what was the stress that you had in that work, and how did you deal with it? So you need to learn how to, you need to come up with examples. You can share examples of how in your previous work, you need to give example of what was the exact pressure, or what was the exact stress, and how did you deal with it. So look for how you managed to handle pressure positively, how it made you feel, and what did you learn from it? What did you learn from that pressure, highly pressure environment? So they are looking for also your ability, your ability to handle uncertainties that come in the workplace. Because I promise you, those uncertainties will always be there. So they are looking just to know, how do you handle, or how do you deal with such uncertainties? So give an example first of what was the pressure, what was the stress, how did you deal with it, So this one you use the problem, you use the PAR method. Problem, which was the pressure. Action, how did you deal with it, and what were the results? And of course, what did you learn from it? So that's basically how you need to, these are questions that they predict how, their behavioral questions are. And of course, I will also just do another video that answers in details how do you use the PAR method or the PAR method to answer the behavioral questions. So you need to really just be deep into identifying the problem, action, then the results and what you learn from it. Another dreadful question, guys, which is commonly asked is, could you please explain to us the gaps in your resume? I have talked about gaps so many times, and I always say that our gaps are not a crime, even though we operate sometimes in environments where employment gaps are highly criminalized, because maybe people think that if you left a job because either you're terminated, you're dismissed on integrity or whatever grounds. But that happens. I'm not disputing that fact. That sometimes happens. But for you, how to answer this question is just be truthful, because typically if you have gaps, one thing that the panelists want to understand, why did that gap happen, which is really okay. And they also want to know, what have you been doing in that time of the gap? How has it added value to you? Have you been disconnected with the market? Do you still have the right skills to do the job? So I'll also just link the video that I've done on how to answer this question in the comment section. But just for this video, how you need to answer this question, I've said, one, be very truthful. Don't lie, because our background checks will always be done and they will actually just know. Our background checks will always be done, so don't ever lie. Also, it's not a time for you to badmouth, and explain what you learned from it. Another thing is that don't fail to mention what you have been doing during this period that you've been out of formal employment and how it has actually just made you better. Also, be able to show that you've not lost touch with the market. You've not lost touch of the critical skills that you have that are required for that job. Just be able to demonstrate how even during this period you have been able to add value to yourself. If you left work to go back to school, please talk about it. If you left work to take care of a sick child or take care of a family member or a sick family member, please talk about it. If you left work to relocate maybe with your partner or relocate to a new country or just to take adventure and travel, please talk about it. I'm big on being authentic on interviews. So just say the truth, but don't talk bad about your previous employer or your previous boss. The next question is, tell me about a challenge you have experienced in your previous or current job. So this is also a good question, just like maybe the other one, that tell me about a mistake that you've done, to understand some of the challenges that you are familiar with or some of the challenges that you've encountered. It's also a behavioral question that they use to predict behavior. They want to see if you have experienced similar challenges that are likely to come or are likely to be experienced in that job and how you dealt with it, to predict how you're likely to deal with it if it comes in the future. So still using the problem, action and result and what you learned method, just say what was the challenge. So for example, let me be a bit generous and maybe just give you how you can answer this one. So one of the challenges that I had faced in my previous or my current job is dealing with a difficult colleague. The colleague that I had, even though I recognized that most of the time we had divergent opinions, which was quite challenging because this was a person that we had to collaborate more with. But I realized that most of the time we were not agreeing on the things that we needed to agree on so that we worked together. So it was a challenge because before I actually learned the type of person they were, I used to get so much frustrated. But how I dealt with this challenge is that I got to a point that I had to understand that we had different opinions, and I began to listen to them first before actually antagonizing or before actually declining their opinion. In this way, this was quite important because he also learned to listen to me. I got to a point where I provided an environment where we could give each other feedback. And within no time, we had actually gotten to a point where we could listen to each other, talk about our different opinions, and of course, find a favorable ground of working together, which we all agreed will help us deliver on our jobs and be better for the company. That's how I would answer it. But of course, there's so many examples. That must not necessarily be your challenge. Your challenge might be different. Your challenge might have been working with a technology that you're not familiar with. Your challenge might have been getting into an environment which the location was quite inconveniencing for you. So talk about your challenge and show what you learned from it and what was the success out of it. Another question is, why do you want to work for us? Why do you want to work for us? And it's a good question because the employer wants to know why you prefer them over every other competitor, So what you need to say in this, you don't need to lie, because at the end of it all, there's always a reason why you want to work for this company. And so you need to show them that you have researched about this company. So you research about the company, look for the good things that you like about that company. So you'll say something like, let me give an example of maybe any other company that you want to work for. So pick something that is unique. Pick a value that they value, something that is maybe listed in their website, So they maybe might have included something like they are customer centric. So if you are a customer service person, or if you're somebody who is oriented about serving the customer, delighting the customer, say something like, one of the reasons I would like to work with your company is like, when I was going through your website, I realized that one of your values, or one of the things that you really foster, is customer centricity. I am a person who likes to delight the customer because I believe that the customer is at the center of every service or product that we provide. So I believe working with you will give me a good space, will put me in a better place to serve customers diligently, which is something that I really enjoy. Just pick a value from the website, something that aligns with you. Don't lie, something that aligns with you. So research about them, one good thing about them. If it is their culture that you like, just say that while going through your website, I really, I could learn, or I discovered that you're very big on good culture that is people oriented. I could see this from seeing a lot of team building, seeing a lot of employee engagement activities, seeing a lot of you recognizing your employees. And I realized that I would like to work in a place where my contribution will be recognized. So you have no shortcut. You have to research about them and get what you genuinely like about that company and say it. You can also frame it in terms of, I believe the role in these companies. You can also frame it about in terms of the role. Just say that while going through the JD, the job description, I realized that this role will give me an opportunity to challenge myself more, and it will put me in a place where I will be able to provide value to your company. So just get one thing, whether it is through the job or the company, and align it with what you really want, or what really reflects who you truly are. Another question that you need to know how to answer is, what is your salary expectation? It's a common question. At the end of the interview, it will be asked, because they also want to know, are you within their budget? Yeah, and this question is really, really not the type of question that should even make you think deeper. No. Because I advocate for you as a job seeker, when you're setting out to look for a job, you've actually put a price tag to yourself. You've put a price tag to yourself. So there's a salary range that you want. So this question is not here to discriminate you unless you're in front of the wrong recruiter. This question is simply asked to test, or rather to know if, number one, you've done the market research and know the range. Number two, if you're within the budget, and that is it. So they want to test if you're within their budget. So just research the salary range, and of course, if you're asking for salary, just be able to back it up and just say, I'm looking for this amount because, number one, this is what the market rate for this job with experience and skills that are equivalent to what I have offers. And of course, this is also in line with the value that I believe that I can bring to the company based on my experience, based on my skills, and of course, based on what this job requires. The next question is, what is your greatest weakness? You know, you're asked about a weakness. Who even wants to talk about their weakness? People don't want to talk about their weaknesses, but what this question is typically testing is just your ability to acknowledge that you're human and you also have weaknesses. And please, before I continue even with this part, please don't answer it. I know you've been told severally to look for a strength to turn into a weakness. You can't turn a strength into a weakness, and especially at the point of the interview. So acknowledge, number one, that you have a weakness. Show what you're doing to make it better. You know, and don't ever say that you don't have a weakness, because we all have weaknesses. So one thing that maybe I just want you to also take cognizance of is, you know, if you can have so many weaknesses, but don't really go to the point where one of the things that are a priority, let's say the job is we're looking for somebody with a strong leadership skills. Let your weakness not be something like, one of the things that I struggle with is leading a team. Oh, you failed that job. You might be struggling to lead a team, but if it is one of the key things that the job is looking for, say another weakness. You have so many weaknesses. Say another weakness that may not directly affect your suitability for the job. I'm not saying that you need to lie, but say a true weakness that you have. Show what you're doing to make it better, and show the journey, the process, what you've been able to do to make yourself better. So one of the disclaimer that I'm only just giving you is that the job description has a list of skills listed. So or a list of competencies, what the job prioritizes. Even if that one of them is your weakness, I don't think it's the right time to say, one of the weaknesses that I struggle with is that I struggle with communication. If the job needed a great communicator, it really reduces your attraction. So look for a genuine weakness, but not that directly affects you, how you work. Affects your performance in that job. So the last question, guys, is, what is your greatest achievement? So this question is a good question to show the interviewers your track record. And everyone will want to associate with somebody who has a track record of experience in something. So they want to hear your achievements. So one secret in answering this question, you need to, if you have achievements that are aligned to that job, it's the best to give. So every time you're preparing for an interview, these are the things you need to come up with, you need to have in mind. Like when I'm asked what is my greatest achievement, what will I say? So look for, in your career, in your job, even in your life, you have achieved something. So even if you're a fresh graduate and it is not directly linked to the job, let it be an achievement that has improved your value of life and that makes you a better person. So you can mention that achievement that you have before. So always prepare yourself with 1 or 2 achievements that you'll want to mention in an interview. And the catch here is that if you're already an experienced professional, please look for achievements that are relevant to the job that you're being interviewed for. So I had promised that I will give you a sample on just how to answer the tell me about yourself. Now, here it is. So here is an example of how you'll introduce yourself. And I said I gave an example as a real estate sales professional. So you'll say, I'm a real estate sales professional with 8 years of experience in my previous and current role. And I have been involved in the sale of land and houses. In my current role as a senior real estate sales executive at XYZ company, my key responsibility is to generate leads and sell units with monthly target of 7 houses. Previously, I worked as a real estate sales lead where I led a team of 5 sales representatives. Some of my roles included leading, training, and guiding the team, following up on their pipeline and client visits. I have always met and exceeded my monthly targets by consistently selling more than 10 units per month in the last 1 year. This has led to my promotion twice in the last 2 years in my current job. I possess great negotiation skills, which enable me to generate and close most leads. I am a great communicator with the ability to persuade and convince my clients. I hold a bachelor's degree in sales and marketing, and a certification in real estate, both from, mention the name of the university. I aspire to grow in the real estate industry in an organization where I can fully utilize my skills and experience gained over the 8 years. So that basically is how, just an example that you'll use to introduce yourself if you're a real estate salesperson. So thank you so much for watching this video. If I am always here to answer your difficult interview questions, I always leave my email in the link of the video. Feel free to contact me, reach out to me. Thank you so much. Thank you. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, notification bell on, and I'll see you in the next video.